bow, chicka, wow, wow. It's podcast time, baby.
That is great. Welcome back. This is episode 4 of the Rucking podcast. Today we got some good guests on, haven't we, James?
We do. We're waiting on them now.
We are waiting on them now. So we thought we'd just give you a quick, just minute introduction to them before they come on.
Yeah.
So the Rugby Pilgrimage on TikTok. You're a big fan, James.
I am. I've followed them since their first video. I'm buzzing to have them on. It was kind of just like DM them, see what happened, and they said yes. So we got them on coming on shortly.
Exactly. They should be with us hopefully in the next few minutes now. We'll just cut to that whenever they do.
Yeah.
But we've got Adam and Sean from Rugby Pilgrimage coming on, so that'll be good. They've got 675 followers on Instagram, but they've got 9,611 on TikTok.
And I believe their most viewed videos got something like 2.4 million?
2.5 million views.
There you go. So
and they've got a combined 354.3 thousand likes on TikTok. So pretty big deal considering they started in December.
Yeah, and also pretty big deal because we're not very big at all. So it's quite nice to have someone that's a darn sight larger than us, at least, coming on the podcast. And yeah, so pretty happy to have them on. Hopefully they should be joining us soon.
Yeah, they'll be joining us in a minute.
Yeah, so we're quite excited to have you guys on the podcast. I've been following your TikTok since you kind of started it. And we're kind of just, what was your sort of, how did it all happen? How did you guys start up the pilgrimage and where did it come from,
Well, firstly, yes, it is my birthday. And yes, we are.
Oh, happy birthday.
We were going to get you a cake ready for when you came down, but it didn't happen. Next time.
Yeah, sorry about that. So Adam actually came up with the concept, so I'll let him explain where it come from. I think it was what was I say? Also, I was an okay rugby player through the years. Level 7 for most of it, level 6 for the last few years. I think you only get to see a certain amount of rugby. So you only see a certain amount of rugby clubs, a certain amount of people, a certain amount of things are done. You don't ever really are exposed to other bits and bobs when you're on tour. And our club haven't had tour for years, and that's nobody's fault. And it was on us to sort of organise that sort of thing. And more so than anything, I wanted to go and see more of rugby, and then the clubs in the UK and in England and the UK, and more than anything, at that point we decided, well, let's show everyone else. Let's show everyone else how good rugby can be. And obviously the drop in grassroots rugby numbers, and everyone was struggling for third teams, second teams. We wanted to go out there and go, tell you what, because at the time our club was struggling for the third team, here is rugby. Here is the bottom level of rugby, which is the foundation of the game, and that's what stands everything up from the bottom down. So the idea was brilliant for us because we got to travel, we got to go and see different people, different places, etc. But maybe a selfish concept at first, but and then it was just like, well, let's show everyone else. Let's grow the game through showing everybody. And then Sean here went, well, he's a great front man.
So I remember the phone call really clearly, and it's really important to point out, firstly, I am no expert in rugby whatsoever. To a degree, one of my aims is to be one of the most successful rugby social media pages and know the least about rugby. So I remember the phone call really clearly from Adam. It comes up with all sorts of ideas and things, and I know a bit about social media and a bit and sort of certainly more than the lads we work with. So he told me the concept over the phone, and I had a load of ideas straight away about how we could maybe scale this and how interesting it could be. So we started working together with two other lads, Porridge, who has become a bit of a cult hero.
As a fellow prop, I'm a big fan of the Porridge.
Yeah.
I've always played loose end my whole life.
Wilson, we don't see too much in front of the camera, but he's quite quiet. He's got a bit of a dodgy knee, so he's actually filming with me as well now. I can see us travelling around the country, going to clubs up and down the country, in all sort of in England, Scotland, and Wales, and maybe even get over to Ireland at some point. And the way rugby is treated up and down the country is different, and we've noticed that. We've been down to Swanley in Kent, and we've been we've been as far north as Hull so far.
We're going further north than that, sir.
So,
One of the things we argue about is choice geography. Dreadful.
But what we do see is that although people do treat rugby differently, the core values remain the same. So that's been really, really important. What we've tried to show is that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, you can get involved at the grassroots level and you will have a fantastic time, because you'll have a great time with a great set of lads or girls, because there's a huge spike in women's rugby as well now. So we're trying to tailor towards women's rugby as well. We're going to film a Lutterworth ladies game on, I think it's the
5th of March.
On the 5th of March. So we're looking forward to doing that and trying to expand that game as well.
And is that your home club, is it, Lutterworth?
That's right, yeah. That's where I spent eight years old when I first went down there. And that was, so I'm 34 today, so yeah, some time.
Yeah, so it was James that put me onto your account not too long ago, actually. I remember he was mentioning it here and there, and I've just seen their new video, things like that. And they started popping up on my TikTok quite a lot. And I was seeing these different videos, and it seems like you guys were always at different clubs. Like, how many clubs reach out to you on like a weekly basis to come down?
On a weekly basis.
So we'll tell you what happened, if you don't mind. So we started doing this in about October-ish sort of time, and the plan was we would start the social media pages in December. So we gave ourselves a couple of months run up, and in those couple of months we were contacting clubs across the country. They didn't have we couldn't show them anything because we hadn't created anything. We were just saying, look, we're a couple of guys, we want to come and do this, we want to come and help your second team, your third team, bolster. And we were so lucky that these clubs turned around and said, yeah, strangers, come and help us out. They were so desperate for help that they allowed us to come along. And then we launched our first videos sort of early December, and it snowballed from there. So now we probably have, depending on the week, we probably have 4 or 5 different clubs asking us to join them most weeks.
There's a lot of half-hearted ones on TikTok.
Yeah.
Come to such and such, you go, well, drop us a message and we'll arrange it. But 9 times out of 10, they're just like, oh, come to my club, please.
Yeah. But what we do is when people message us and they're sort of and they can be serious, we try and get involved with them. We are in time. The rest of the season is booked up for us, and as soon as the sort of fixtures are announced for next season, we look forward to sort of booking up the whole of the 23-24 season as well.
Nice, yeah. So you always had the social media was always part of it, planning to put it on TikTok and
definitely. The whole aim of this was to promote grassroots, and the quickest and best way for us to do that was through the social media. And we didn't expect it to grow as quickly as it has done. Definitely not. We plan on hitting at 10,000 this week. So yeah, it's grown a lot quicker than we expected it to. But I think that's because we're really honest in our videos. We don't try and sugarcoat it at all. You know, grassroots rugby, depending on the level, can be really, really basic, and that's exactly what we wanted to show. Because you know, if you don't play rugby, like I haven't done for years, and I've only played a very little bit of rugby, the fear is there's so many rules, there's so many laws actually, there's so many laws around it, and you know, even the film, the lines, you know, it's so difficult to comprehend if you don't watch the game. We want to show that it's really, really actually quite accessible to people. Your dad's dad doesn't have to have played for Wales at some point to understand the game. You can be anyone pretty much off the street, and you'll be accepted into a club. And as long as you're going for a laugh, you'll be accepted and you'll be part of that club. And that's really what we wanted to show.
No, I think that's really important, isn't it? Just growing the sport, because I think, like you said, the numbers kind of have dropped off in later years, and we've noticed that at our clubs. And so I think that's really important. But
what clubs are you at?
So we both playing for the University of Gloucestershire at the minute. But originally I played for Red Roof down in Cornwall, and you played for.
And then I was playing for a team called Kenfigale back in South Wales. That was my home club.
Sorry, who in South Wales?
Like Bridgendways, like in between Swansea and Cardiff.
I've not heard of that club, but Red Roof, Christ.
Yeah, so I played up for them till Colts and then came to uni. So.
Okay, fair play.
Good side.
As you mentioned, there's you didn't expect it to get as big as it did, as quickly as it did, but it's pretty incredible. You're followed by England Rugby now, so
Yeah, that was actually incredible. I think it was December. I remember sitting at home with my wife and we were watching some crap on TV, and I had a notification pop up on my phone and it said England Rugby shared your video or something. And I was like buzzing, like, I couldn't believe it. And I looked at my phone, I immediately messaged Adam, and we've got a little WhatsApp group between four of us. I was like, England have shared one of our videos. This is incredible. And this was like week 2 or 3 that we've been posting videos. Very shortly after, England messaged us, some of the guys there, and now we talk to each other almost weekly, England does. They posted a few videos. They really like what we do. I don't think they really know what to do with us yet, but I think they really want to work with us going forward. They've got a real grassroots initiative going on. So we've had a few chats with them, and sort of fingers crossed we get to work with them a little bit more closely. But just them posting our videos, they've got 500,000 followers on TikTok, 1 million on Instagram. So when they share our video and tag us in it, that does wonders for us. That's always a peak for us. That always boosts our followers.
Yeah, that's really exciting, because that's what people seem to forget sometimes, is that, you know, grassroots, that's what feeds the international team. You got players starting young, they make a way up, and all of a sudden they're national heroes. So It's really good that you guys are kind of putting that light on it, because it was only in our first podcast James was mentioning the drop off in numbers, like at our uni team, for example. So as soon as James mentioned it, I started watching a few videos, and like I said, we both watched quite a lot. So it's a really good message to send, especially with Blackpool Rugby Club. I saw the video about their club being robbed. You're putting some good light on, you know, some serious matters as well. So you're using that platform in a really good way.
Absolutely. Just before I talk about Blackpool, one of my favourite things about the England thing is that very recently there was this guy who did a goose step. I can't remember where he was.
Barton.
Was it Barton?
Barton and District.
Barton and District. And there was this young lad, he was probably 4.5 stone wet through, and he did this goose step, and he managed to get past someone, and it was just, you can actually hear me on the video go, yes, because when I watched him do it, I was like, I know that's a great clip. And England picked it up, and I messaged the kid who did it, and I was like, England Rugby are posting the video. This kid is like just a very average rugby player, a grassroots. He's at a grassroots.
Morgan, and he's brilliant.
But he's on the England Rugby TikTok page doing a goose step in again. What are the chances of that happening for him ever? So that, you know, that's absolutely fantastic. So sorry, go on.
Carry on getting these sort of communications with England Rugby. You can definitely get some sort of work with them in future. That would be great for you guys, and growing your sort of channels and your sort of the whole pilgrimage, if you will. So that's proper exciting for you then.
Well, yeah, that sort of exposure is what we want, and that's not particularly for us. It's more so they can do what we want to do so much more easily through their platform than we can, because essentially we want to push the grassroots game.
Yeah, and just going on to your Blackpool point, I had a chap email me. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he emailed me from Blackpool Rugby Club. He'd been on one of our lives, and he said, "Look, our club has been broken into. Can you put a bit of a highlight on it for us?" And I said, "Look, can you send me some pictures so I can create a bit of a video for it?" And he sent us some pictures. And I went on their Facebook page and read the story, and you know, memorial posts had been destroyed, memorial pictures had been destroyed, and I was like, it's heartbreaking, really. So we put a post together, and I only put it up a few days ago, and you know, I knew it would take off brilliantly. You know, loads of people have viewed it, lots of people have commented on it, which is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to highlight it, because this doesn't just happen at Blackpool RUFC, it happens up and down the country. You know, these rugby clubs are generally in relatively remote locations, so they can be a bit of a target. So these guys contacted us. I wanted to highlight it, and it got quite a lot of views on TikTok and everything. So that's great. That drives traffic towards Blackpool RUFC and their Just Giving page. We've had a few messages from people saying we've donated and stuff. So if we've helped that in a little way, fantastic. But more so that we've highlighted the club. They're having a bit of a tough time at the moment, not just the break-in. I think they've had people riding quad bikes over. They've only got 2 pitches. They've had people riding quad bikes over it. They've had a bit of a tough time recently. So hopefully what we've done there is raise the spirits a little bit. If that's what we've done, then brilliant. If we can help in any tiny way, that's all we want to do.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think as soon as I saw it, I thought that's really good because I saw, the likes, I saw the views, and I thought even if a few people go and give a few pounds to that, that's a really good cause that's been helped there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really sad seeing things like that. There's a similar sort of situation happened in my hometown where there was a football club that had the same sort of treatment, and it's just especially with sports clubs that are that aren't any sort of level. There's no money in it, so it's when you've got people just coming in and trashing the place. That's just it's just unfair. It's unnecessary. It's ridiculous. So I think, and so like Tom said, the fact that just you guys showing it off is getting people donating to it. I think that's a great cause, and I think
we don't know
personally.
Blackpool RUFC very well, but I assume they don't get paid to play or anything like that. It's just a group of lads. And probably there's a ladies' team there as well who get together over the weekend and train a couple of times a week. They do it out of the goodness of their heart. They're probably helping so many people in that community. Mental health is such a massive thing at the moment, helping that and just bringing people together. And then someone does something like that. It's really heartbreaking. So, as you say, if we can do the smallest little thing to help that, then it doesn't cost us anything. If we can help people, then that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff, that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, you mentioned that you've been in communication with England Rugby, and that's pretty crazy. And I do sports journalism at uni, so it's not. I think most people can tell that as soon as you've got that platform and you've got that charisma, even with the voiceovers and things like that on the TikTok, there's a good energy about them. And as soon as you're in communication with those sort of people, you don't know what they're going to have you doing, whether they're going to have you out to games. So it's really exciting. But obviously, yeah, you've had a pretty fast rise on social media, and you said you want to keep spreading the message on, pushing grassroots rugby and helping clubs, things like that. But have you got any set in stone goals for the future for your account and yourselves?
Adam and I have spoken about this at length. So we are in our 30s, in our mid 30s. We are quite lucky in that we have to spend money to do this. We aren't making a penny out of any of this. This costs us money.
Oh, we're down.
So we are way down. Porridge's gross bill alone is extortionate. So we're very fortunate that we're able to do
just
this.
had to pay for the hotels in Bristol this weekend as well.
Yeah,
crikey.
So when we go away, we stayed at Leeds and things like that. So what we'd like at some point is to be able to break even. We don't necessarily want to make anything from this, but we'd like someone to maybe turn around and say, we love what you're doing. So, there's a couple of irons in the fire with professional teams that we're thinking about. Maybe we can go down the route of doing a similar thing and with the professional side of the game as well. So I don't want to talk too much about it because nothing is confirmed. I don't want it to fall over, and it never happened. So, but the problem we've got, not the problem, the opportunity we have with social media. It's not a career. It's not. You don't start as an apprentice, then become a professional, then be a director. There are an impossible amount of avenues this could go down. It could end up anywhere. You look at Jared, the rugby guy. He's got an excellent background in rugby. Did he 10 years ago ever think that he was going to end up where he is now? Probably not.
Yeah. The rugby guy is definitely.
Say again, sorry.
Sorry, they said the rugby guy. He blew up, and now he's played with I watched a testimonial game at Sandy Park, and he played in that with the likes of Jack Noel and Ben Moon, and so some big players down there. So if you guys can get into a sort of professional,
we get absolutely crippled by that.
so you get a run out for Leicester Tigers or something.
And I do the filming, so I'm happy to see that.
You run down the sideline with a pint and.
Some of the top props in the world.
So to answer your question, there is no hard and fast goal that we're aiming at.
No, we're not going for anything.
No.
The idea was to promote some grassroots rugby, and then it got a bit big, and we were like, oh, okay, what's next? And we're sort of letting that drive us, or people come to us drive what goes on.
It's quite difficult for specifically between Porridge as well, but Adam and I, we're quite goal orientated in our professional lives. So to look at something and go, oh, we'll see what happens, is quite tricky for us as people. But I think as we go down this road, a road we've never experienced before, people strangers commenting, liking, sharing our posts. We just have to kind of have to take it in our stride a little bit and let it take us where it takes us.
But right back at you, boys. What's the plan with Rugby?
I'm not really sure. It kind of started off, like I said, because I do sports journalism at uni. We come into these studios and things like that, and I've not really got the. I never really thought I had like the charisma for it, the voice for it, even the TV work we do. I just never felt confident in that sort of aspect. And me and James we live together, so we're always kind of talking about rugby in the house. Our housemates don't want to hear it, so we thought it's a good outlet, and now we're quite enjoying it. It's nice. It's nice practice, kind of getting you for me, but for us,
it's just nice to have a chat about rugby for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well, we've got the podcast, but I was doing before was the JS pasty review, which I called it, and it was we were going to different stadiums and reviewing the food. And it started off as I think I bought a pasty at Sandy Park, and you filmed me eating it.
Yeah.
And so on the TikTok, I've been posting these food reviews that we've done at different stadiums. So I think we did one at we've done Sandy Park, Welford Road.
We saw the one at Tigers.
So
Porridge is pretty pissed off, to be honest with you.
His are great. I can't lie, I think his are a bit better.
But yeah, so that's kind of where it is going now, and yeah, a lot of it is just kind of your course stuff, and
yeah, it's just good chat between mates. And then we've had friends listen to it, even friends that don't like listening to rugby. We've had a few people message us saying, you know what, we don't really know what you're talking about, but it was an enjoyable listen anyway. So even just hear that's nice.
And I'll tell you what, from my experience of not being a rugby guy, that's exactly who I'm trying to aim at. Because you've got Adam here who's been playing rugby since he was 8 years old. Since he was 5 years old. And, Porridge and Wilson in a similar way. I played rugby as a schoolboy in Kent, because that's where I'm from. And then I picked up third team rugby a few years back for a little bit, and then that's been it. So I don't understand the ins and outs of rugby. I don't understand everything about it. So if I can tailor our videos and our media towards that, then what we're really looking to do is try and bring people into rugby, people who aren't necessarily always playing rugby or haven't always played rugby. So what we're trying to do in the off season, we're looking at league as well to see if we can get involved in league, but also in the off season we'll look at things like talking about the pitch and what all the lines mean, talking about some of the fundamental laws of the game, in a fun way, not a straight way. We're going to try and make it a bit fun, and also we're going to talk about different positions, because you've got 15 lads on a field. If you don't know the difference between a prop and a back or whatever, or a winger, that's what we want to do. We want to talk about these different areas in a fun way, so that it's accessible for everybody, not just people who've been playing rugby for 30 years.
No, I like that a lot, because we do get we will be talking about it in the house, and then one of our flatmates will be like, oh, what's a ruck, or like what's a scramble, and they're like clueless for it. And also, but you get like even just people that are involved in rugby. Like I'll play with guys who our 9 has no idea what's going on in the scrum in the front row. So it's like just having that clear pattern that just helps people just get an understanding. Because I think some people they'll watch the Six Nations and stuff like that, and they don't really know what's going on, but they'll. It's the same with me in football. I watch it if it's on, but I don't go crazy for it. But it's just having that clear sort of explanations and stuff in a good, like, charismatic, like the word you used, charismatic way. I think that really helps growth of the sport and people getting into it. And if that thinks, so a young lad 14 say thinks, maybe I will pick up a rugby ball, try it out, or any age, 30, 14, 20, whatever age,
And that's the thing, you do see people of all ages picking up rugby now. We've got, I don't know how many lads on the uni rugby team, but I know I can think of at least one that's like in their 20s, doesn't really know loads about rugby, but is thinking, it's a good opportunity to get a good run out with a few good boys, picking up the sport, learning it as they go, and really enjoying it.
Yeah, no.
So doing that, I think, is you're going to get plenty of people in.
To your point, that's really interesting, actually. TikTok specifically gives you the analytics for the people that watch your videos. So 91% of the people that watch our videos are men, which is actually, that did surprise me, because I thought it'd be more than that. And the fact that we've got 9% are women is, for me, is fantastic. We want to grow that, and that's what we're going to try and do by going to a few more women's games. Unfortunately, Adam and Porridge won't be able to play in those games, but we will be able to film them. But something else is the age range. You can check the age. You can see the age range of the people that are watching those videos, and the biggest percentage by far are between the ages of 18 and 24. So we're talking university age lads, people who are just coming out of uni. So a lot of them will be rugby guys, but a lot of them probably will have only experienced rugby at university as well.
Yeah, do you have any? So you're saying about the women's games. Do you have any plans to? Have you got any like female friends or family that would be interested in picking up rugby and doing the same thing that you're doing, but obviously playing in the women's games?
So one person we do connect with a fair amount is the Prop Life on TikTok. I don't know if you're aware of her.
Yeah, I saw a comment on one of your posts, and I was looking at her account yesterday.
I think she's from your neck of the woods. Actually, we've never met her, but we've only known her through TikTok. She's got a fantastic following, and she's really grown the female the women's game. We Lutterworth, which is Adam's club, the club that we live close to, has a great women's side as well. So in a couple of weeks on, I think it's the 5th of March, we're going down there to highlight their game. We're going to do our Sunday video, but for the women's game. So we obviously won't be involved in it, but we'll be filming it in the same way. We're also heading down to Avonmouth, ladies, on, I think it's mid-April. We actually filmed the men's team at an away day recently. At Evesham. So we're heading down to film the ladies' team play in a couple of weeks' time. So we want to see what we're hoping for is that we can get some engagement from the female rugby players on TikTok as well to show that both sides of the coin, if you like.
But yeah, no, that's good, isn't it?
Sorry, just jump in. Lutterworth ladies have lost a lot of players in the last 2 years. They were one of the better sides in the Midlands going back 2 years, but due to somebody else having a bit of cash or whatever, or training facilities or whatever it was, they lost a lot of girls, and they've ended up sort of rock bottom of the league, losing every week. So it'd be interesting to go down and see and speak to the guys and see what they think about that, but also show how bloody good it is and how much fun the girls are having. And I've got a few of the girls on Facebook, and all you ever see on them is, I can't wait for Sunday, I can't wait, I'm going to league my girls out and we're going to have a great game and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same emotions we have. Of course it is. And it would just be good it'd be a good day to go and film and see. And,
it's important to say it's going to be a learning experience for us as well, because we've seen a few women's games before, but this is going to be the first time where we've gone and filmed a game. We've actually spent a real amount of time with the women before they play, and we're going to learn a little bit, because they're going to do things differently to how we traditionally see the game. So I'm looking forward to that as well, because we see the typical big hug, as we call it, before the game, and the squeeze, and how do they do things differently? Because that'd be really interesting, I think, not only for us but also for the followers that we've got as well, to experience that side of the game.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting, because especially with women's rugby, I know that social media wise it's got a lot bigger in the last maybe year or two. It's become a really big thing. You see a lot of small clubs now starting up their own TikTok accounts. I did one training. I filmed one training session for Dursley women's rugby team. We both went up, and they do TikTok, things like that, all social media, and it's getting really big. And especially with the message you guys are trying to send, that grassroots can be accessible with women. That's not always the case. So I think it'd be good to kind of shed a light on these teams. So if there's people nearby, women they quite often have to take a bit of a drive to these clubs. So it'd be good for you to highlight those sorts of clubs and things like that.
People like the Prop Life, who I mentioned before, I mean, we're never going to be able to have that kind of experience. She's lived experience. She's doing it. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to shine a little bit of a light on it to say that 91% of the people that follow us are blokes. So we just want to shine a light on that and say, we've all, being men, and we know what has been said previously about women's sports and things like that. We want to shine a light on it and say it's just as good. In many ways, it's a lot more proficient than the men's game. There's a lot less kicking involved. It's a lot more tactical. It is a different game, even though it's the same game. So we're not trying to take over from someone like the Prop Life, who's doing lived experience and showing the game inside and out. We're just shining a bit of a light on a load of people that hopefully will be interested and probably haven't seen the women's game before.
Yeah, and I think we're saying the thing with social media is so important for growing the women's game. I mean, look at the Six Nations. The Women's Six Nations is sponsored by TikTok now, and it's it's all over people's social medias, and it's much more. You always can have the same gammon saying, they're complaining about it, but I think it's great to have as much involvement in the rugby community in any way, shape, or form. Really,
I totally agree.
So yeah, it's nice to see that you guys are going to be starting advertising that and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Some more like maybe light-hearted question now. Obviously, like you said, you started filming in October. You've been to quite a few clubs now. Is there any team that stood out as the best one you've been down to and got involved with so far?
No.
So
Is there any worst you can think of?
We've been to.
I'll probably disagree with everything.
Yeah, so we've been to a lot of fantastic clubs, right? The one that sticks in the main mind for me is Morton and Norton. That's probably because that's a time we stayed over.
Do you know where that is, lads? Do you know where that is?
Not
No.
How's your geography?
my
Not
strongest.
great, no.
Well, it's in Leeds. It's in sort of Yorkshire. It's in North Yorkshire.
Better.
That's proper up north.
Yeah, no, we don't know.
We spent some time with Morton and Norton. We played for their third team. Who was it we played? Was it Hull University?
Yeah.
So we played Hull University. They all turned up absolutely hungover or steaming still.
Not most uni sides.
Yeah. So they got absolutely trounced by the lads. We stayed over and we had such a fantastic time with them. It's about the rugby, yes, but also it's about the after bit as well. Because to get unless you're an absolute rugby nose and you're only interested in what's happening on the field, there is the whole other side. There's the build-up, which is what we show. There's the game, which is what we show, and then there's the afters as well. When you're in the clubhouse, and then for Morton and Norton, we went out on the town with these lads as well, and it was an incredible day, incredible evening. Who was the club that we went to just the other week? Oh, it was Hull. It was in Hull, wasn't it?
Oh, Barton and District.
Absolutely fantastic club. We didn't stay over. We will go to them next season. We will definitely stay over because they were just brilliant. They were just so welcoming.
They were crackers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolute crackers. Absolutely.
The
Crackers.
social aspect of it is all part of it as well. I think if the social aspect is all part of it, I think, because it's like
rooms are like
if
a
you-
cubicle, like a disabled cubicle at a leisure centre, and there was 16, 17 lads getting changed in it. It was so tiny, and we were just bowled over by the love that they gave us straight away. It was fantastic. We all got changed, and there wasn't, that you boys have played a bit of rugby. Right, switch on now, boys. You know that. There wasn't that. There wasn't that. They just enjoyed their day so much. So like, we're not having that. We're just going to go out and enjoy it. And then, I say they were bottom of the league. They were bottom of the league, but they weren't a bad side at all.
No,
They had, but there were so many smiles on faces all day. It was a pleasure to be there, a pleasure to play with these boys. And I scored, didn't I?
No,
I think that's proper evidence of like it's not always the winning that counts. I think because I've had games where we've had a bit of a losing streak with the twos last year, and we ended up going down to Bath for a match, and I think we ended up losing, but we played so well, and we were all happy that we played that well, and it was a close game. And because we'd had a couple proper cricket scores put on us, and it was like just even when you're not even doing that great, it's still nice to have those games where you're smiling because you're playing good rugby, even if it's not about the win. Like.
Definitely, there's lots of people out there who are, dead set. If we haven't won, it's what's the point of playing? But grassroots, the level that we're trying to get involved with, it's more about the social side of things for us. One thing that is worth saying: any team from Bristol is absolutely bananas. That is the common thing. Anyone from Bristol is nuts. And if you're from Bristol and you're listening to this, we want to come to you and do a home game. We've only seen touring sides from Bristol so far. They're all nuts, and we want to get down there.
We go.
Oh yes, actually, these guys are going on. I can't make it Saturday, but these guys are going.
We're going to Yatton, so that's sort of South Bristol towards Somerset, correct? You
Yeah.
boys down there, aren't you?
Well, a bit further up from me, but sort of that way, yeah.
Come on. How's your geography? Yeah,
No, Somerset. It's above Devon, so. But yeah, no, I think that's Bristol sides. I've not really played many of them because when we've done touring, it's usually been sort of teams from around Exeter way. So I've not really encountered any Bristol sides me playing. I don't know about yourself, but
No, I think probably the third side I've played is maybe like your Exeters, things like that as well.
yeah. But I had a few boys at the uni team who've come from Bristol way, so they've always most of the boys at rugby always a good crack. So it's yes.
Yeah. No, but we've had some great experiences. We've probably played with, I don't know, a dozen sides since December, and we haven't had a bad time at any of them. The more we've gone on, the more we've become the more the team are aware of what we're trying to do, because we've become a little bit more popular, and more people share our videos and things like that. So the more, as we've gone on, the more people have engaged with us and understand what we're trying to achieve. So it's got better and better and better. But there's definitely no club we've been to that's been bad.
And just going back to what you said about the social aspect, I think, like Lars trying to say a minute ago, is the social aspect is almost just as important as the game. I think sometimes it's about, you know, having a great group of lads who can have a good laugh on the pitch and then go into the clubhouse after and have a few pints and have a great night. And I think that's all part of the rugby, like the healthy rugby culture. You know, you get the negative side of it, but like that healthy rugby culture, I think, is really important, just to keep rugby alive and keep it fun for, you know, those, even when you're down and you're getting, you know, losing by a lot, and it's still, you can go out after and have a good time and stuff. I think that social side is
losing by a lot. I don't understand. What's that?
You're
losing by a lot. No.
not do that often, do you?
Ridiculous.
Like he's never seen it.
Nah.
But it's really interesting what you say, because we've got to be a bit careful, because when we go into the clubhouse, I do the filming, and there's a lot of old boys in the clubhouse sometimes, and if you're waving a camera around, sometimes it's not as accepted as a clubhouse.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
So you've got to be a bit careful. I've been challenged once or twice, and I've had to, we've had to have a conversation and bring someone local in to settle things down. So we've got to be a little bit careful. But again, as we've gone on, people get it, and generally, 99% of the time, we are supported in what we're doing. We don't take the mick. We'll only film what we think is acceptable. A few little drinking games and a few little, if there's a social, like we was at the club we were at last week, they had a little pajama social, so we had a bit of footage of that. But once the clock hits about 7, we stop filming. Really, generally, we don't want to embarrass people. We don't want to show people their light that they don't want to be seen in. So we're quite careful with that as well.
Those things are left to the imagination. I think it's best, as some of the things you see at social can be a bit.
There's a beautiful secrecy behind club rugby, like
it's
no one quite knows what happens behind the door, and I kind of want to keep it that way, so it entices people in.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going around to these different clubs, you're sharing, good messages, things like that. But obviously, it's got to be some good fun for you along the way, things like that. Who out of all the rugby pilgrimage lads is the worst at a post-match social? Who can neck a pint the best? Who's not getting involved?
No hesitation there.
I have not yet seen neck a pint, which I know for a fact he can't do it.
I see the difference is, right.
I've not lost a boat race all year.
So the difference is, I am in a professional capacity until we go home. So I'm filming.
Don't listen to this.
Sounds like excuses to nation.
Absolute rubbish.
I'm filming. I'm making sure that we're getting all the footage we need. I'm making sure when we leave, we're getting the right footage. So yes, I haven't done a boat race. I haven't had to do any of that. But then again, I'm not playing either. I have said I will play. I will try and play before the end of this season. I am dreadful. But it might be interesting and quite funny, because I am that bad that it will be funny.
What's your position of choice then, boys?
Winger, because that's the only position that doesn't really need to know all the rules.
Just stick yourself in the end and hope nothing happens.
And at this level, the ball doesn't really get to the wing, so I don't have to worry too much.
Yeah, just hoping for crash balls. We'll hope to see you doing a boat race on the TikTok soon. I think that's. I pride myself on my boat race abilities.
Make sure you've got a good 10 minutes to watch it.
Yeah, we might have to speed it up, time lapse it.
So, have you boys got a local club that we could come to?
Well, I mean, we're playing at uni, so it's only for students, which is a bit disappointing. But maybe if our twos team, because they're not part of uni play through what's called Bucks, which is British University College Sport.
I went to university many moons ago.
So I don't know how that would work, but our twos team aren't with Bucks at the minute. So if we have a game, well, we've got a game on Wednesday, I think, playing up in Birmingham.
It's not far from us.
Not far at all.
Yeah, we'd have to speak to.
Tricky.
we'd have to speak to committee people for that. I think we haven't got much leverage ourselves.
That is something that we've come up against.
We don't have to play. We can just be there.
That we've come up against a little bit is the hierarchy of this. People love a rule, and I don't mean on the pitch. I mean behind the scenes. People love to have rules in place. So sometimes even just to try and get an Instagram post with our name on it has been a little bit tricky sometimes. The hierarchy tends to be the older people within the club who've been there since the 60s, 70s, 80s, who don't really get what we're trying to achieve. They see it quite negatively sometimes, not all the while, but sometimes they see it quite negatively, and that can sometimes be a little bit of a factor in what we're trying to achieve.
It's interesting as well because you do get that hierarchy at sort of university level as well, because you've got the first year, second year, third year, fourth year sort of thing. We're both in our second year, so you kind of it's the same sort of thing but on a much smaller scale rather than 60 years, 40 years. It's 4 years, and I think that kind of makes an impact.
They still want to keep it close and tight knit, and they want to be in control.
Yeah, because we've got the committee, so it's quite democratic, but there's still that. Sort of levels of importance and stuff, but
saying that, there's plenty of open-minded clubs out there who have welcomed us with open arms and totally see us for what we are. And I understand that we want to come and support not only on the pitch but off it as well. And it's so funny. Like even today, I posted a video where one of the lads, a guy called Paddy, he's a prop and he does a crossbar challenge. He kicks the ball and it goes all of about 2 foot. And his son commented, it was something like along the lines of, "I can't believe my dad's on the rugby pilgrimage," and it's like crying faces. And I love that. That was brilliant. Like his son was disappointed in him. It was so funny.
It was dreadful. Like.
Yeah, but it was a dreadful kick. He deserves every bit of it. To be fair.
Oh, that's we props we tend not to kick that much anyway, so I feel that's a good excuse. At least you want the fly off.
Yeah, exactly.
Paddy had to play for the opposition on the day, if you remember.
He did.
I think after that kick, they went, right, you can go and play for them.
After that kick,
which is another part of grassroots rugby when they go, right, we've got 17, they've got 14, who's going to go and play for them? And then just silent. Everyone's like,
had that a lot at underage groups and stuff.
Yeah.
But
you do get, even at some levels now, you get people sort of having to move about. I'm like I said, I always play prop, but I'm playing hooker on next Wednesday, so that should be interesting. I haven't played hooker since I was about 16, so be a bit rusty in the old throw-ins, but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, we probably won't win a single line-up, but we'll see what happens.
Keep the ball in play, hopefully no one kicks it out.
You'll be fine. Okay, good stuff.
Yeah. You got any other questions, James? Anything else you can think of? Oh, this is a good one. Seeing as it's all very grassroots based.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest rugby stories in the last few months is obviously the tackle height. Just want to get your thoughts on that, and how that might affect the grassroots level, because you've had a lot of people say that it'll affect attendance. That's what James had thought when we talked about it a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on that, and how big of an impact do you think that'll have on the grassroots level?
I'll tell you what. Let me do the idiot answer, and then Adam could do the more knowledgeable answer. So, having watched grassroots rugby pretty much every week since October, sometime, I think it'd be incredibly difficult. I feel sorry for the refs. There's a guy called Simon who's on TikTok as well. The rugby ref, I think his name is something like that. And I feel very sorry for those sorts of people who are going to have to try and referee this through the course of next season, because for the level that we're playing at and we're promoting, generally half the team, the only time they are practicing is in game. They don't go to a Tuesday or a Thursday night training session. They play on a Saturday, and that's it. So they're not got any time during the week to train lowering their tackle, and some of them have been doing it for 20, 30 years. So to expect those guys to change the entire way that they tackle someone or go into any sort of contact without is impossible as far as I'm concerned. So that's my opinion. Adam, I don't know if you've got a different.
I have an unpopular opinion. I'm 6'3". I've got no hamstrings left. I can't get down. I literally can't get down. But when I play rugby, it's going to be around the stomach at absolute, unless I'm diving for the blow. My issue is, these blokes that are coming back to the RFU now, having years and years of playing rugby and ended up with issues dementia, etc. You signed up to play that game. You knew what the game was all about. You knew it's a contact sport. You knew, and you put your head in those places. Why are you coming? And this is the reason the RFU have got to do it. This is the mad thing. This is the reason the RFU have got to do it and not ruin the game for everyone else, but change the game for everyone else, because you all come into the RFU with the same as the NFL. I'm sure a few years ago, it's gone a bit bonkers, and it's like I say, it's quite an unpopular opinion, but if you're gonna have a pop and go back to the RFU because you've hurt your head, throwing your head at people for years, playing a game that you've been paid for a lot of money, surely something doesn't sit right. I get it, but I won't go any further than that. I do get it, but at the same time, no.
As someone who, Adam is someone who's played rugby for the best part of 25 years, and me who hasn't played any rugby, obviously that's something that he's been a part of for a long, long time. From the outside looking in for me, I get it. However, I think it'd be way more sensible to be brought in at the junior level, learning from the beginning rather than learning as a 35, 36, 37-year-old man to go, right, I've been tackling up round the chest because he's 6'2", by the way, not 6'3". And his hamstrings are gone, so he can't get down there.
By the way, it doesn't make any safer, because the more times I've been knocked out in my rugby career, it's off an ankle or a boot, not off a shoulder or a head. I've been knocked out by a head, I've been knocked out by a shoulder, but I've been knocked out far more times or hurt far more times by a boot, a knee or an ankle. So why change it?
Yeah.
No, I think especially when you, like you said, you've got big 6'2" guy going up against a 5'10", 9, and it's like there's just no chance of getting that low, is it? It's just but I think it's definitely
I think what we do probably appreciate, hopefully between the four of us, is the RFU have put themselves in a bit of a checkmate here. It's an impossible question to answer. They've got to do something, I guess.
They have to.
But
it's their due diligence to do it. But they've been put under that pressure by...
But sports fans will find the fault in everything. Football, rugby, any kind of sport will find the fault in everything. So there is no correct answer here. So, it's a tricky one. You'll find opposition to any way you stand.
But I agree with what you were saying. I think the best way they could have done it was implement it at a junior level, and then when you get to Colts or youth, you have in Wales, I think that's when you say, okay, maybe keep it below the shoulders, or like keep it sort of like chest down, and I think sort of change it little bits like that, but rather than just saying
nipple height,
rather than just saying the waist, I think they definitely could have worked out and had it more of a staggered age group, starting off low, and you can allow a little bit higher later on, and then obviously so to keep it nipple height down, and I think that would have been a much more better way of doing it.
And I think we both agree with you. We've both talked about it quite a bit, and we agree with the fact that you understand that that's the risk you take. It's not to the level of boxing, of course, but like everybody, even if it's an ankle injury, like it's a knee injury, people know that you pick up knocks in rugby, and that's just how it is. And I think it's just one of those things where players maybe need to take some accountability. Obviously, there are a few, they need to implement the waiting times for concussions, things like that. But I think there is an element of, you've accepted that this is what can happen. Luckily, I've only ever picked up one concussion, but that was from a knee. So it's one of those things. This is an impossible answer, but I think we'd probably agree with the fact that you go into the game knowing that you don't expect it to happen, but you know it's likely.
Yeah, I think as well, like as in most players, I think our age would agree. Like I go on the pitch and I know that is a risk, but I accept that risk is going to happen because I want to play sport, because I love the sport and I've always loved it. And it's if I was there thinking, I might get injured, I won't go, I'll be a bit softer, I think then that's a bit, there's no point playing if you're thinking that attitude.
It's the same risk as going, tell you what, I might snap my leg into, or I might dislocate my shoulder today, or I might get a nasty gash in the back of my ankle from a stud. Who are you suing then?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It just happens.
It takes a very special person to play rugby in comparison to something like football, because there are so many more risks potential risks involved in it. So you don't go into a sport like rugby if you are, for want of a better word, soft or afraid of hurting yourself. So it's risk reward, isn't it? The reward is you get to play a sport with loads of friends, a sport you love. 9 times out of 10, you walk off that pitch absolutely fine, and there is that odd occasion where someone does get hurt, but you can get hurt crossing the road. So it's risk and reward, isn't it? We did create a video, a film, not so long ago on TikTok when it was first launched. It was going to be, I think it was about hips down, and that went huge straight away for us. Loads of people were interested in it, and I think they've walked back from that now. I think we're talking nipple height, but to go from where they were to sort of going hips down.
Did you see that one?
Was that the one with the? You were saying how many of your tackles was going to be higher with the new law? Was that
exactly? John was calling each one that would have been high, but half of them were just essentially cuddles. Yeah. They were nice cuddle, bare tackles, but they would have been high. They would have been.
And that's the other thing as well. When it's a tackle where it's kind of like a drag down rather than a chop, it's like that's safer, arguably.
Strength rugby, it is drag down because lads don't come and make a firm shot on you because, of course, you don't.
We're not playing Fijians week in, week out. We're playing.
You can't be perfect
40 hours in the warehouse and just want to get rid of a bit of energy on a Saturday. It's like I say, it's a hug and it's a drag down more than anything. Most tackles, that's what it is at this level.
Yeah, and I think it'll be quite interesting as well to see, how refs decide to referee individually, because obviously there's set rules, things like that, but every ref has their own leniency on everything, and especially because it's a new rule, it'd be interesting to see initially, and especially for you guys, because you're going down to grassroots clubs, you'll see all these different referees and you'll see how strict they are with it, because I think you'll see a lot of refs that probably won't abide by it very strongly, and you'll see others that will just stick to the book and be very harsh with it.
So we all know there's different types of refs out there. We get refs who are good and want to see a game get played, and we've got refs who are refs because they like the sound of their own voice and they want to be they want the power or whatever. So that will be the difference between the refs on the day. Hopefully, most of them are quite conscientious and understand what the game is about at this level, and what people are trying to achieve on Saturday. And if you tackle someone a little bit high, you get a benefit of a doubt, a couple of warnings, warn the captain, and then if it continues, then maybe there's a yellow card or something introduced. Not just that's the rule, that's it, you're off.
Yeah, that's the sort of optimal outcome of it, because I think you get some refs that are very card happy and they'll think, they're constantly blowing their whistle, and it's like sometimes it's like, even if it's a bit, because obviously no one's got TMO, you barely even have like linos these days. We have, usually if it's lino, it would be one player from each team that's on the bench doing it and stuff. So ideal world is you do just get these sort of leniency where it's a bit of warning, and then if it's like 4 or 5 where it's gotten a bit too high, then you maybe have a chat with the team. But I think if you get some refs where they'll just constantly burn their whistle, I think that's a bit not ideal at all.
100% there'll be refs out there that do that, but hopefully they
about refs as long as they do both the same size.
Yeah, but what we're saying is the leniency. There should be some leniency as we go into it. At this level, you can't expect people.
They'll bottle it. They won't do the full job. It'll come down to belly button by September. You watch.
That's the hope, anyway. They do a U-turn, I think.
So we shall
see. Because you get the phrase thrown around that rugby's gone soft, but I think when we had our first episode, it was not long after it had happened, and that was what we said, is that you don't like to hear people say rugby's gone soft, but I think when it gets to that point where you're bringing in measures as drastic as that, you've got to start questioning at what point the integrity of the sport is being ruined ever so slightly.
I think that's a massive overreaction. I'm not saying you're saying this, but I've heard the same myself. Rugby's gone soft. No, rugby hasn't gone soft. Rugby is still the toughest contact sport there is, probably in the world, other than kabaddi or something crazy like that. But rugby is still a tough contact sport, and measures that they're bringing in are correct, because we need to make sure that, yes, you're playing a tough sport, but down the line you don't suffer with a horrible illness or something like that. It's got to be measured, but also you can't just be You can't just be reactive to being sued or something like that. It's got to be a considered approach, and it's got to be consultative as well. You can't just say, right, that's it. Everyone in the country, you're not allowed to tackle higher than the hips now. That's insane. That's can you imagine that happening in football? Right, every Sunday league team, your foot is not allowed to leave the floor in a tackle. That's madness. It's impossible. So it's got to be way more considered. It can't be reactive.
Yeah, I hate the phrase rugby's gone soft. Whenever you see it, you see the keyboard coaches on the comments in every England rugby post or whatever rugby post. Everyone's got their opinion, and I think I hate that phrase, rugby's gone soft, because like you said, it is still a nails sport and it's high contact and stuff. And I think like you said, it's just the fact that they've just gone like that. Let's just cut the tackle height like that. I think it's way of an overreaction. But yeah, I think
it's not their fault. We'll go. It's not their fault. It's not. It'll be they're getting sued to the rafters. It's not their fault. They've got to do something.
Yeah,
it's not their fault. Everyone's RFU. It's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's not their fault. It's the people suing them. Stop suing the RFU. They'll stop having to do dopey things. Sorry, I'm popular again. That's how it is.
But hopefully, things will be squared away. We'll get the Six Nations out of the way. The seasons will end across the season, across the country, and things will be a lot clearer ahead of next season. Because at the moment, it still feels like a real grey area to us, where there is no decisive action. Everyone's still a little bit confused about what might happen for next season.
Yeah, definitely. I think most people will be hoping that, though, obviously that they do at least lift it up a little bit rather than go right down to the waist. I think that was a big overreaction. But like I said, it's good that they introduce these measures. They have to at some point, but I think it probably could have been introduced a bit more slowly, and then not quite as drastic. So hopefully by the end of the season we will see a bit of a turnaround for that.
Yeah. Farrell's doing us no favours.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
It's not for you, the Welsh fan, but
yeah.
He could learn to use his arms a little bit better. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Anything from you, James? Anything left?
Yeah, just say quick fire questions. So, favourite post-match meals?
We should have had porridge here. Madry. A nice orchard cider for me. That's beautiful.
Genuinely, I don't eat after games. The adrenaline's not gone yet, so I've had a couple of beers to take the edge off.
Yeah. All that filming, I like pasta. So.
What's yours?
I got to go with my favourite post-match meal. You always got this growing up at my level was Cornish pasty after a game.
You
from Cornwall, that Cornwall area.
Yeah, so you always got everyone would give you a Cornish pasty, and you'd always go to the one club and they'd have the crap chips that were a bit frozen in the middle still. You'd be like, bit rubbish.
Absolutely.
For me, it was growing up. It was always that. It was like sausage, chips, beans. Playing at home, you got your mate's mum cooking it up in the kitchen. It's great. That was always for me.
There's left over. It all just goes in some sort of bowl or something. Yeah.
Andre.
And then you kind of said about it, but then favourite pint after a match?
I'm a cider drinker generally, so especially if I end up down in the southwest, I like to drink something local. But if not, just a standard Bulmers for me. What about you?
Me, strong lager, porridge, IPA. Wilson, stronger lager. Helps his drive.
IPA is quite an interesting one.
Yeah, not many people say IPA. I don't think.
Yeah. Porridge loves. He's a classic IPA drinker. He hates drinking IPA, but he drinks it because it thinks it improves his local image. So he swallows it with bitterness. Quite frankly, we'll throw them out 3 times. Drink out of the pubs first. Yeah, exactly.
He comes back and goes Atlantic.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me it's usually a Cornish cider or a nice lager or something. But
just get me any sort of cider. I'm not a massive fan of lager. I'll have one. It's the occasional the rugby sometimes, but get me on a cider and I'm happy.
More so, it's the ones that you have to neck.
Yeah, you don't want your neck in cider.
When you get man of the match, what's your least favourite drink to neck? Ooh, and that question is to you, Rugby.
It's usually if it's 100% alcohol, it'll just be cider and black when we're having a post-match social, but. Usually, last year we used to get some proper nasty cider and black. So you get the £4 bottle from Lidl with a bit of squash in it or something like that. But then, or we've had a bit of like recorder leg, and I'm not a huge fan of the berry ciders, so chucking that down is a bit. It's like over a load of sweetness. It's like.
Adam,
you can have some.
Adam recently won. Was it man of the match? I'm not sure, but you had to drink a pint with a pickled egg in it.
Oh. Yeah, we had
shot with a pickled egg in the bottom.
Yeah.
Now there is, when you finish your pint, you eat the egg. It was delicious, but absolutely lovely. Imagine you've already had a couple of pints, you go, come up, see your pint off, your man of the match or whatever. Now eat your egg.
Lovely.
Crikey,
Yeah,
it's dry. It's weirdly dry sat in the bottom.
It was a smelly drive home. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's gonna go right for you.
Yeah.
I've had a few dirty pints where it's been like cider that's been mopped off the floor and then put in with shots and other rubbish that you just don't want to be drinking. But
Definitely.
no, I think down in the pints, I quite enjoy doing that sort of side of it. So I'll drink whatever I'm given. Just getting razzled like. Another quick fire question then. I said quick fire. He's gone on a bit longer than I would, but if you had to play with any current or former player, international player, who would you choose and why?
Say that again. Sorry.
If you had to play with any player of an international level, so if they came down to a grassroots club, who would you want to play with and why?
Andy Good, steady kicking game, lovely offload game.
Yeah, my rugby knowledge is very poor, but I've researched Andy Good a little bit, and he seems like no, because I'm going to pick someone like Johnny Wilkinson or something.
Him too.
But imagine, I would just love to put a compilation together of "Can you kick it?" I think you see my videos where they miss, and it's "Can you kick it?" with Johnny Wilkinson. That would be amazing, where he misses them consistently.
Well, yeah.
I think for me it would have to be either Jack Noel or Luke Cowan-Dickey, just Cornish bias. They played from the home. They played from back home, and they played at my college, and sort of always been an Exeter fan. So it'd be nice to play with those kind of guys.
Oh, you're doing this seriously? Sorry.
Well,
we're having a laugh.
Yeah, I think mine might be. Who's the Sarries player that turned up at the pub like 2 days later? Was that Alex Good?
It was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Alex Good. Fullback for Sarries. I remember it was like 2 days after he'd won the Premiership final. He was pictured in the pub, still in his kit. I reckon he's a great.
Yes, I remember that. That was brilliant.
Just never stopped drinking.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you can't blame him if you'd be the same if you were in his shoes. Like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant.
If I had to.
Any more questions? Any more quick fires?
That's all I had on my list. But
That's all you got. I think that's all I've got actually.
Yeah, I think
This has been a good chat actually. It's been really good to get your message.
I think we've. I think this has flown by for us, by the way.
no, it
Yeah,
has,
no, it's gone really quick.
Tell you what, it's been really interesting because obviously you're our first guests, and it's been really good to have you guys on. And obviously, happy birthday to you, Adam, again.
Yeah.
Um,
When we see you, we'll get your pint in for sure.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Madry, good man.
If it works for you guys, we'll work out a time when we're down your neck of the woods for a game, and we'll try and meet up and do a pubcast or something like that.
that would be really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be good.
When we're about 20,000 followers or something, we'll do a pubcast or something when we're down your neck of the woods, and we'll catch up again.
That'd be brilliant.
Tell you what, we'll put a word in. If we got another twos game coming up, we'll give you guys a message, see if you'd be keen for a Wednesday game. But
See some of James's dodgy darts at hooker.
Just as a personal, I don't know whether this will go out for you guys, but we are pretty booked up for the rest of the season. However, if you're within sort of 2 hours of Leicestershire, we're after Friday night lights or a weekend game, a weekday game, an evening game in the weekday. We'd love to come along to you and either get involved or even if it's just filming.
Just watching, yeah.
Yeah. Men and women's games, if you're a couple of hours within Leicester during the week, that'd be fantastic. Weekends we travel anywhere, but during the week it's a bit more tricky for us.
no, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's been brilliant having you. Like I said, we've seen you on your postings like that, the original message behind your account and, what you'd planned to do from the start, but hear it more in depth, things like that. I think it's been really interesting, and I must admit, the same way James was always trying to, for a few days, for maybe a week, was trying to really get me to look at your account, and I think I'm going to be doing the same thing to a couple of my mates that are big into rugby as well, because it's really good what you're doing, and I think we're both big fans of it.
He's won you over in the end then, that's good.
Yeah.
You gained a follower in it.
Yeah, I watched a couple videos. I was like, you know what, this is good. I like it.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much for having us on, guys. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming
thank
on.
you for coming on. Yeah, it's been great.
Definitely really interesting stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you in a few months, hopefully then.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Cheers, guys.
That's
Thanks very
brilliant.
much.
Cheers.
Thanks very much, guys.
See you soon.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.